This week, after 5 long months, I can finally tell you why I disappeared for a week. And I mean, you've probably already seen, but now that the first episode is officially out, I can tell you all about it and why I was actually not even supposed to be on here. I mean, I literally signed the contract like 2 days before I left to go and do this. Oh, and because we had to sacrifice rapid fire news last week, and I promised to make it up to you, I hope you are bloody ready, because Alex and I are about to serenade you with this sweet sound of machine guns, explosions, and hot fire, which comes in the form of high-quality news that you can trust. Deadly tornadoes in the US, record-breaking protests in Serbia, Elon Musk having the worst week ever, Young Philly and Diddy both officially pleading not guilty. Oh yeah, it is gonna be a juicy one. So, I think it's time to bring it back, stop the yap, and let's get cracking! Okay, so as you all know, 5 months ago, I had to leave YouTube for a week, and today, let me tell you where I went. And to be fair, some of your guys' guesses, dare I say good, or just ridiculous. I mean, most of you, fair enough, expected North Korea. For anyone confused, he's going on his trip to North Korea. Well, you know that's not true. For anyone confused, he's meeting a girl in Uzbekistan. Only OGs will know that one.
I go to Uzbekistan or stay here?
Many said MrBeast videos, others said he's going on I'm a Celebrity, and others said freaking Diddy party, and that Daily Mail would never. You bitches. But the truth is, the News Daddy empire left the cold, freezing, actually we have mold in here now, molded garage, and is now coming to you worldwide, excluding North Korea, on Netflix. 2025, hey? Just got even crazier. I actually went to the premiere for this whole special screening last night, which was freaking wild. I mean, me and Ali got back at like 3 a.m. because the train from London to get back to where I live, 3 hours, and it was at midnight. God damn it. But I'm still here to give you the rapid fire news. And you know, the whole situation was pretty crazy because, you know, I've been to a couple premieres here and there, but I've never been to one as the cast for the thing that we're about to watch. And never did I really think that I would see myself on a cinema screen with a whole crowd like reacting in real time to the shit that we're watching. Weird experience, but freaking fun. And you know, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I really didn't know how I was feeling about, you know, watching the first episode. Because for context, right? You kind of need context for this. I get a call 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks before this was about to start shooting. And at that point, you know, like it wasn't even confirmed to be on like Netflix and all of that. All I was working off at the time was, you know, the first season and the fact that it was a reality show made by the Sidemen. And look, you know, I respect the hell out of the Sidemen and what they've done, you know, for the creator space in general. And infinitely grateful for the opportunity that they were offering me. But it's a reality show, right? It's a reality show. May I say more? Need I say more? And I know, you know, we have a lot of fun on here. And yes, we get a bit carried away with the whipping and Alex, you know, with the editing. Hot fire. But we are still a serious news channel, okay?
Wow. I didn't know that. I just, you're telling me now for the first time.
And we are. I don't want to hear a word. A serious news channel. Point is, I don't know if I was suited for, you know, the reality show vibe, where often the drama and the craziness is the main entertainment factor that is focused on, right? And, you know, I was upfront about this. I told them at the time, I voiced my concerns like, really? Me? But, you know, they seemed to think that, yeah, I was good for it. You know, there was even a point, genuinely, that about a week before, you know, so I said 2 weeks I got contacted, and a week into it, I was like, I made up my mind. I was like, no, I'm not actually doing this. And I told them that, and I said, thank you for the opportunity. Hopefully we can do something again in the future. But obviously, you know now that that's not how the story ended. Because, you know, I won't go into detail, but we sorted out all the apprehensions, and I said, screw it. Screw it, let's do it. And it was only the night before we were about to go inside that we found out that it was on Netflix. So I kind of was just like, you know, we're doing it. And the Netflix thing, well, it just turned out to be a massive bonus because how surreal is it to be... I haven't even sat down yet and like clicked like, you know, when you turn it on, it goes doo-doom, and then you see your face on there. It'll be wild. Truly, truly surreal. So I'm lost for words for how grateful I am for it. And you know, I have seen the first episode and man, I don't think that they'll mind me saying this, but holy shit, you know, season 2, you know, just purely as an objective piece of content, regardless of who was in it, is so much better than season 1. And perhaps you need to understand like what it was like inside, like the making of all of this, to understand how well they've produced and edited this in comparison to season 1. You know, there was many points throughout the first day of when we were shooting where I was like, I don't know how they're gonna get content out of this, because it was intense. Everyone was speaking over each other. There was 12 people. Everyone was super loud, and it just didn't come across that way in the edit at all when you actually watch it, which is so freaking good. And it was a bit like that in the first season. So when I saw this come across, I was like, they have done a really freaking good job. And when you watch it, like, you would only know by being in there, but they cut out like 95% of all of the the stuff that went on in that 24 hours, including this part. So this is, you're only gonna know about this firsthand here. So it was at the moment we were all like coming in, and I think it was Mandy, the person that I arrived in there with. And she asked me, because she'd never actually seen my content, she asked me like, oh, what do you do? And I thought, you know, here we go. I was like, oh, you know, I used to actually run these massive parties. I used to organize them for my boss. And we called them freak-offs. You know, they were renowned around the world. They were massive. All the celebrities would come to them. But then my boss, he got arrested. And yeah, it was pretty rough after that. And then I've just been kind of like making little bits of content here and there after. This is expecting her to clock it, right? To understand it. Freak-offs, who doesn't know what a freak-off is? But she had no clue. And so did a couple of others. I think it was Sinna and like one or two others that didn't know what I did. It just became this running reference of like people genuinely think this is what I used to do. And afterwards, I didn't know if they were going to run this stuff. And so after I actually got out and I spoke to like the producers after, and I asked like, oh, did you like clock that? Did you get the reference? Because it didn't seem anyone else did. And one of the guys was like, yeah, like when we were in there, we heard you making that stuff. And they said, and I quote, protect him. And they cut it, so you don't see any of that stuff, but man, that would have been hilarious. Because all of you watching at home would get it, and to see no one else get the joke would be wild. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Netflix is gonna air me talking about someone that's potentially on trial for life right now. But I guess that was the other crazy point, because no one actually knew who was gonna be in there. The moment when we all get in is literally the first time that all of us had met. Because even the night before when we were supposed to go in those hotels, we had someone take us to our hotel room, we'd go inside, and we couldn't leave. And they tried to do that because they wanted it to be like first genuine reaction when we get in there. And they did well because each person was a surprise. I didn't know anyone that was going to, you know, be in this whole series. Oh, and yes, also I did turn up with the old Hulk slippers, because Elliot has like, what, over 300 pairs of shoes? And you know, when you got a brother with that many, you got options. And so we went with those. I think they were amazing. Kind of sad that they took them from me. They stripped us down to nothing. Now, there is so much more that I'm gonna be able to get into once the, you know, second, third episode releases. Yeah, we'll talk about it when the next few episodes come out. I'll post another video later this week, and we'll go through everything because pretty crazy. But yeah, super happy with the first episode. I want to say a huge thank you and well done to all of the Sidemen. Absolutely smashed it with this one. It's come out amazing. But we've got to move on because we are a serious news channel, remember. Because also this week, we finally got another update on young Philly and his whole situation. He appeared in court on Tuesday with a grown-out beard, grown-out hair, and officially pleading not guilty to the 8 charges that he assaulted a woman and her in a hotel room in Perth. Now, this means that he will be fighting the allegations in court, and he will appear before the state's higher district on June the 13th. Oh, he also spoke to the media for the first time, because usually he just walks straight past them, doesn't comment, but this time he did. But he only said the weather's nice and that it's a beautiful day before getting in the car and driving off. I mean, you can tell he's from the UK. We always talk about the weather when we got nothing else to say. But yeah, that's about it. So it's gonna be about 3 months now before you're gonna hear any updates, to be honest. But in the same week, because just a couple days later, Diddy also appeared in court and also pled not guilty to all of his charges. And because there was no cameras allowed in the courtroom, we actually got a sketch. And apparently, brother's got a gray beard and gray hair now, which I'm not sure if he went into with. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised that would age you like the stress would age you. His trial begins on May the 5th, and man, let me just make my prediction now. I genuinely think this is gonna be one of, if not the biggest trial of the decade. Just think about the Netflix documentaries that are gonna be made on this. I mean, tying in Netflix and Diddy to all of this is pretty ironic, but yeah. Moving on. Because we also need to talk about Elon Musk and like, he's been having a freaking terrible, maybe the worst week for a while. And it can't just be me, right? That's been seeing more and more clips of people vandalizing Teslas. Every goddamn post on X is that now. So I looked into it and yeah, not just Tesla, people are attacking like all of his businesses. So last week, Tesla's stock plummeted. In fact, they saw their 7th worst day in the company's 15-year trading history. That's pretty rough. And Trump said he blames the radical left lunatics, saying that, they're trying to boycott the firm. And that, to kind of show his support, this is actually what led up to all of those Teslas being brought to the White House. And Trump even, as he was sitting in the cars and looking at it being all computer, said that he was going to buy one to pump their stock. I don't actually know if he did buy a Tesla in the end. Anyway, back to Elon's terrible week. There was a whole wave of attacks carried out to multiple Tesla dealerships across the country. One individual was carrying explosives at a dealership in Colorado, and they tried to set fire to the building and were only arrested on their 5th separate attempt. How insane. Teslas, especially Cybertrucks, have been attacked and vandalized in the streets and at charging stations. And also last week, a number of Cybertrucks were torched in Seattle. And there's footage of what they look like after. Burnt to a freaking apocalyptic crisp. And then at the same time as the stock plummeting and all of the dealerships getting vandalized, his other company, X, well, it suffered multiple outages. And the reason for that being multiple massive cyber attacks trying to bring down the X system with what Elon says the IP addresses originating from the Ukraine area. And then just to kind of pile on all of that, this is a few days after he appeared on Joe Rogan saying he has to be careful because he can't push too hard at it with his work at Doge because.
But I think if I fully destroy the corruption and the graft, they will kill me.
And if you're wondering why they're doing all of this, which you're probably not, but one of the protesters who gathered, last weekend to protest against his work at Doge said,
"You get paid to be out here?"
Yeah.
Amazing. So some pack.
You really are getting paid for this?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh. Definitely. 100% I'm getting paid for this.
And the things just keep on piling because Tesla sales in Europe are down 45% in January compared to the January 2024, 76% down in Germany, 49% down in China, and also declining sales in America and Australia, both key markets. Now, hearing all of this terrible news, it isn't as bad, you zoom out and, Tesla's stock prices are at pretty much the same as they were before the election. And at the time of recording this, we are actually seeing a bit of a bump back up. So yeah, the question is ultimately for you, will these boycotts and attacks on Elon's businesses truly hurt him and the companies, or will they be fine and it will pass? Well, I asked my Instagram and 56% of people said, yeah, Elon is cooked, and 44% said, nah, this will pass. Very interesting. But moving on, because also happening this week, we just witnessed the largest protest in Serbia's history. Now, for starters, the government put the number at 107,000. Independent monitors said that more than 325,000 turned up, while unofficial estimates say that as many as 800,000 turned up to protest. And I'm not gonna lie, man, you see some of these drone, shots, and for the government to say that this was just 100,000, seems wild. Oh, and keep in mind, as you're seeing these enormous numbers, This is all a student-led movement. It was called the 15th for 15 protest, referring to the 15 people that were recently killed after a concrete and glass canopy fell on them at a railway station. Now, the reason why there's been protests ever since at increasingly large amounts is because so far, no one has been held accountable for this tragedy. Now, many of the people protesting blame government corruption, demanding that they publish all of the documentation related to the station's renovation and for the president, Vučić, to resign. And then, to make things worse, there are videos circulating online that claim that, while these students were holding their 15 minutes of silence for the 15 that were killed, police allegedly used LRADs, or better known as sound cannons. Now, these are devices that have been used before in protests like in the US, for example, in 2020, and they emit focused beams of extremely loud sound, so loud that it can induce vomiting for anyone in the wave and even ear damage. Now, keep in mind, these reports are yet unconfirmed, but, there's these videos that show this huge crowd, split almost perfectly in two. They just start running, in a perfect line, which is really weird to see. In a subreddit for people participating in the protest, one said, it seems that everyone in the line of the wave felt very strange. They said their brain stopped working and that they started running involuntarily. Many people also feel very exhausted. Now, at the time of recording, the people demanding accountability have not yet received it from, at least the accountability that they're looking for. But of course, we're a news channel, a serious one at that, so we'll keep you updated when we find a resolution as things develop. Moving on. Okay, I feel like it's a good enough time right now because, and I might regret doing this, but I promised to make it up to you after we missed rapid fire news last week. So, the rest of this week's news will be packaged into rapid fireness. This is what you asked for. Prepare yourself. Everyone, salute our 3 sacrificial lambs today to remind everyone to subscribe. May their sacrifice honor the... Just subscribe.
Corn casserole.
Thank you for your sacrifice. Subscribe to the channel! Okay, start the rapid fire news in the UK because what the hell is going on, man? A British couple were fined £1,500 after they discovered that a migrant had clung onto the back of their vehicle all the way home from France. You might be wondering, why would they get fined for that? Well, when they arrived home, they started unpacking and they found that a 16-year-old boy from Sudan had zipped himself inside their cover for their bike racks. They quickly called the police, right? And so far, this is all making sense to you, right? This is what a normal person would do. They called the police, they arrived, but to their surprise, after this whole ordeal, they were the ones that received a fine in the mail from the Home Office for failing to check that no one had hitched a ride on their motorhome. Yeah, the husband said this is wild, and at no point did I believe I would be fined for taking the correct and moral action. Because yeah, he called the police, and he was the one that suffered for it. Next, this is rapid fire. Thousands of acres of protected Amazon rainforest have been cut to make a 4-lane highway for a climate summit. The irony. The BBC report that COP30 will be held in the Brazilian city of Belém. So, to ease the traffic for the 50,000 people and world leaders that would be attending, they have cleared land 13 kilometers through the rainforest to make way for a new highway. Next. Forever 21 in America is set to close all stores in the country after they declared bankruptcy for the 2nd time. So this time is really cooked. They cited declining mall traffic, which, man, I know this is so off topic, but I've been to a couple malls in America. Creepiest places ever. I'm sorry. Maybe it was a thing, like malls are really outdated in America right now, but weird, like they feel, I'm sorry. I love America, but I hate your malls. So, sorry, yes, declining mall traffic and increased competition from online retailers like Temu and Shein. Temu and Shein shaping the world. Next, at least 33 people, at least from the time of recording, have passed away in the United States after a number of extremely powerful tornadoes ripped through parts of the country. Cars were flipped, schools were destroyed, entire neighborhoods were shredded. And what's crazier, and this is like the kind of stuff that only exists in America, just wild. So you got tornadoes in one part. In Texas and Oklahoma, you had dust storms and 130 wildfires. And then, at the same time, in northern Minnesota, you had a blizzard warning. All in one country. Next, US also cooked up a political storm this weekend because they announced that they are kicking South Africa's ambassador out of the country. They said he is no longer welcome because he is a race-baiting politician that hates America and President Trump. And keep in mind, like, this is so extremely rare for a country to do. Not even Russia or the United States did this at the height of their Cold War. Next, I feel like at the end of one of these, I need to process it for a second before I move on. At least 59 people in North Macedonia were killed after a nightclub, which was operating at twice its capacity, set fire. Officials have already arrested 15 people after they found that Club Pulse, which was its name, was operating without a license, saying, "We have grounds for suspicion that there is bribery and corruption in this case." Sorry, I know this is rapid fire news, but this is an important point to make. We just covered the Greece protests, right? And that stemmed from an event that happened with the 2 trains that killed many people. Then we're covering the largest protest in Serbia's history, which stemmed from 15 people getting killed, both of which are accused of corruption. And now we're seeing 59 people being killed from a club, and this is also already suspicion of corruption. So I feel like there's a lot more that could happen following this. Also, around 155 people were injured, and it's feared that the death toll could rise because 20 of the injured are in critical condition. So we'll keep you updated on that one. Next, we also got reports that Trump is now considering a new travel ban which extends to a massive 43 countries. Please don't be the UK. And they're not all gonna be a flat out like travel ban because they've got red, orange, and yellow, which all indicate different levels of restrictions that each country will face. Next, the US has also been busy, in other countries this weekend because their military forces in a joint operation with Iraq has eliminated ISIS's leader of global operations. Trump celebrated the news saying peace through strength. Trump also ordered airstrikes against the Houthis in Yemen and said that they will continue indefinitely. He posted saying, "To all Houthi terrorists," and then this is the rest of it, all caps, "Your time is up and your attacks must stop starting today. If they don't, hell will rain down upon you like nothing you have ever seen before." Next, some actual fantastically good news. The astronauts stuck in space, which originally was supposed to be there for like a week, but is turned into 9 months, well, they may finally be returning home. Because just in the past couple of days, that rescue SpaceX capsule has docked with the ISS. So, after all of this time, apparently, hopefully if there's no complications, which, let's be honest, there might be. But if there isn't, they are due to make their journey back to Earth this week. And you know, if you want to see that kind of coverage, well, you better subscribe. Because how else are you going to see it? Huh? You don't want to watch anyone else. You want to stay with the Empire. Oh, and just as a bonus, because that's what we do, we over-deliver. A Peruvian man was found alive after being lost at sea for 95 days. Just understand, a year is 365, right? Almost 100 days lost at sea. And apparently he survived eating insects and turtles. 16 people were injured after a roof collapsed at a St. Patrick's Day frat party. And gas prices in the United States have dropped to a 4-year low. I look for good news when I can. Damn! I don't know how that comes across in the edit, but that was intense, man. We can't do that kind of intensity every week for rapid fire. Please do not ask it of us. I bet Alex, do something to show us how cooked you are. Because I can imagine your fingers hurt from editing that. That amount of rapid fire news could kill us all. Just kidding. We will never be killed. The Empire is immortal. I want you guys to go off, go enjoy, binge me on the what do you call it? Is it a big screen? Netflix, medium screen? I don't know. Boomer 16:9? Either way, go watch it. I think it's fantastic so far. And I'll be back. We'll talk about it more at the end of this week. I love you guys. Thank you for always tuning in. And I will see you in a couple of days. Woo! And let's get cracking! The power. Pretty sure it swung around and whipped me in the face. Oh yeah, you can see it! Things I do to get cracking, man.